by now you know me from the jazz council, that was years ago. So I brought more fire to douse dudes and playing by house rules. I lay back like a couch dude. I'm that dude to make his own beats, writes his own rhymes, records his own shit. Probably why it takes so much time to put out an album. Man, I'm always behind schedule. Ain't that I ain't hungry, I just always got my plate full. Try to digest all the topics that I'm spitting. You need to sit back and actually take the time to listen. We living in a new age where mind states are feeble. Kids' attention spans are shorter than Danny DeVito. My beat stole, be banging, be about my business. Bass stays knocking like a Jehovah Witness. Leave them scattering when chattering. The gang of rhyme patterns. I ain't worth challenging. You all need some aspirin. Aspiring to be me, no empires to feed. Just a chosen few that's flowing through. Firing up the weed. Jesus, crazy what the world coming to. I'm here to live it, make music. For y'all is just hanging on a gimmick, huh? Wait a minute, man. Don't get me confused with none of these newbie-ass rappers, man. I know the game be feeling fucked up, but I've been making beats since 95, regardless if I had the right promotion or not. Word up. Hey, yo, I ain't always humble.
What is up, guys? Happy Thursday to everyone. I didn't do any sketching last night like I was supposed to. Up all night working. Brain's a little bit fried. So we're gonna do a little bit more sketching today. Enjoy a lunchtime beer, which feels like a late night beer to me. It was a very late evening. And Patrick's dealing with some hardware issues on his end. So the nerd rant for this week is postponed until next week when he can show me some Houdini stuff and hopefully work's settled down for both of us a little bit at that point, and we can go back to our normal fashion of enjoying a whiskey and just rambling for much too long. Guys in the chat, cheers to you all. Thank you for being here. Oleg, Alessia, Vlad, Luca, Milan, Paolo. Dario, good to see you guys. Thank you for being here. Hope everyone's doing well. I hope they had a good day, if it's evening time, or that their day is going well if it's not. Let's get started. I don't have anything prepared to talk about. My only plan is to try and get a sketch finished that I like for this image that's like stuck in my head and not wanting to come out. And I think if I don't have I don't know if we'll go for a full hour today. I think if I don't come up with a sketch, I don't know what I'll do. Maybe we'll jump into 3D and try to solve our problems there. It's not typically how I do it, but typically it doesn't take me an hour to get a thumbnail out that I'm happy with. I don't know. Let's see how today goes first. I don't have anything planned to talk about specifically today. Like I said, it was a very late night working last night. Martin, in my ongoing quest to get you guys to do something about this. Look, it's on, but the light doesn't turn on until I press a button. It's not even working properly anymore. Guys, this is the worst. And I only need one functionality from it, but you cannot use display toggle on the Cintiq Pro from anywhere else besides that. So if I want to use any of my other monitors with this, I need that. It's the one thing that I don't really like about this. Well, it's one of two things. But it's, the easily fixable one. Anyways. Maybe Martin will hear that. Maybe it'll get fixed. Oh, wait, Milan. Oh, that would be amazing. Is there another way to do display toggle? I haven't been able to figure it out. I've tried I guess you could map one of these keys, but I need both of those keys. You can't map the eraser, which I don't need. You can't assign a keyboard shortcut that I know of, and you can't reassign the capacitive buttons. I instantly programmed it to use it. How? Oh, Milan. This would be the most exciting thing that's happened to me in a while if we could get this fixed. It's the bane of my Wacoming. Oh. Yeah. It's gotta get fixed. It's gotta get fixed. It seems like a massive oversight. Which I guess is designed to get people to buy this, but if you buy the Cintiq Pro, you get it anyways. It makes no sense. It makes no sense. But okay, so this is where we left off yesterday. I added 3 more little spots to doodle in. Hopefully 3 is enough. We'll see. Guys, I don't know what's going on. I'm looking forward to when work slows down. That's my message for today. Beer always does taste good, though. Okay. So, I'm just going to start sketching again. Kind of see if I can get my place back or my thinking back. Oh, you got one of them sit-stand desks. Good on you. I've never actually used one. If you can figure out how to get toggle working, that would be amazing. But in my Google searches, all I've seen is answers from Wacom saying, no, we can't do that. We'll think about implementing it. I feel like the eraser would be a good spot. Just let me use this as a button as opposed to a stylus, because I never use the eraser. I don't know if anyone does. I guess someone does. But guys, tell me how you're doing. Instead of me talking all day, why don't you guys let me know what's going on? How's life going? Are you guys still in lockdown? Any of that kind of stuff. Let me know. Let me know. Milan, the flex arm. I haven't used that either. And I did do some measuring. With the size of this desk, it wouldn't reach to where I want it to be when I'm working and go back to where I need it to be when I'm not using it. I don't mind if I had a stand that kept it at this angle, I wouldn't mind moving it at all. Moving the books to keep it where I would like it to be is a bit of a hassle. But yeah, I'm glad to hear that you like it though, and that it works for you, and that it's sturdy enough to stand and draw with. Maybe someday I'll buy one and give it a try. I haven't reconfigured my desk since getting this back in September, whenever I got this thing, but I definitely need to. Okay, let's do some more sketching, and you guys let me know what you guys are thinking, or what do you guys want to talk about today. That would be fantastic. How deep is my desk, Milan? My desk is, I want to say 36 inches. Let's see here. Guys, I think it's going to be that kind of stream, just as a warning. Kind of one of those getting it together. My desk is 32 inches deep. Which I think, by my measurements, would be enough to get it where I wanted to if I was going to draw over here, right where the arm would be coming from, not from my main color proofing monitor. But I don't think that it would swing over and into this position. But I could be wrong. I often am. Okay, so let's keep drawing. Clark, still on lockdown. Yeah. Oh, you liked Gaia and you're gonna buy it. That's good information. I'm actually really excited to play with Gaia. My initial when I was initially quickly looking into it, I thought World Creator was gonna be better. And I couldn't try it, so I bought it, and it was like $100 or something like that. It's not that expensive. And then in my subsequent researching, I've come to the conclusion that I expect to like Gaia more. I have not yet used it. So we'll see. I'm excited for that, though. Maybe I'll do that sometime next week. Or no, me and Patrick are going to do that one together. I'll talk to him about it. We'll figure it out. Dario, Unreal 5 looked sick. And I loved the story that they made for it. I thought that was awesome. For the gameplay for that. I'm assuming that I'm not much of a gamer. I don't have time for that. But the implied story I thought was freaking perfect. I do wonder, my good friend Chop, Chop, if you're in the chat, let me know. And if not, we can say whatever we want about you. Kidding. As Chop pointed out in a post about it, there's still no mention of what they're doing about refraction or glossy reflections or some other things that like us ArcViz artists really need. And so I trust and I hope that someone up there is working on it. Yeah, as of yet, no mention of kind of what's going on there. So fingers are crossed. But it looked freaking insane, and for real time, and not even running on that, like running on PlayStation 5, which pales in comparison to the hardware that most of us have in our machines. You know, for GPU rendering, like that is freaking bonkers. The last time I played with Unreal, I very much didn't like it and didn't get very far into playing with it, but that made me rethink some of those thoughts. Daria, I agree. They're definitely really, I feel like, pushing the limits on things, which is awesome. And yeah, they real-time engines historically have had, and I'm by no means an expert. I've like played with them a little bit, but that's about it. But they've had issues with like mirrors and glass, basically. Anything that's like a true like ray traced reflection or refraction causes issues. And that's about the extent that I know of the problem. But like for a long time, I was helping someone who was trying to make a real. This was maybe 3 years ago. They were trying to make some like real time stuff for one of their clients, and you know, in the bathroom they couldn't put like a true mirror. There's like fakes to make it look like a mirror, but it's not actually a mirror. Which, if you're looking at architecture or glass for that matter, if you're looking at architecture, those things become very important. And currently, the only solutions that I've heard about are workarounds for it. But I'm sure they're aware of it. Hopefully, they are working on it. It does seem like, though, like when you look at the incredibly badass demo that they showed yesterday, it seems like all of that, like, it doesn't seem like it would be asking too much to, you know, get a little bit of quality refraction and reflection going on. I think it's also funny, for those of you that have been rendering, you know, at least since like V-Ray 1.6, you know, there was a time where like you had to really kind of think about anything you wanted to put a glossy reflection on. Otherwise, you kept it as sharp as possible for render time reasons. And in the real-time world, it's kind of the opposite, right? They're perfectly happy doing all kinds of crazy blurred reflections. But if you want a mirror, baby, ain't gonna happen. I wonder if I'm just kind of thinking about this too literally. Yeah, you know what? I'm gonna move the chat window from over here where it's living to right in front of my screen. Uh-oh. Where'd it go? Let's see. No. Now we've lost the chat window. There he is. Okay. We're going to put you right front and center. Clark, thank you for that note that you sent me earlier. I think that was today. Feels like it was today. Thank you for that. I appreciated hearing that. Very much so. And to everyone in the chat, hanging out, watching this now or later, if, this time doesn't work for you. Thanks, guys, for hanging out with me every day. I very much appreciate it. I hope you guys are enjoying it and learning something, each now and again, maybe. But yeah, I appreciate you guys, and I just wanted to say thank you. I don't know what I'm doing here. I'm just here's what today is. It's not even going to be a goal about getting this done. I'm just going to kind of sit here and talk with you guys in the chat, and I'm going to doodle whilst we're doing it, and that's going to be what today is. Let's take away the expectations. Always good just to play sometimes, and I'm going to keep playing on this topic, but that's going to be about it. And who knows, maybe we'll end up with something we want to make into a finished image. But I do still want to do, at some point, the task that I was talking about that I want to do with this one, which is paint a building. Basically, paint a building, not from scratch, with like 3D as a guide, but have it come out painted, and not have it just be way in the background. Because that's something I think I should learn. And it's definitely something that, like, even thinking about it gives me a certain amount of trepidation, which suggests it's probably something I need to work on. What if these came down like way? What if we changed the complete perspective of this? If you're wondering if there's any significance into why I'm painting with this brush instead of my hard brush, there's not. I like this last little drawing I did yesterday. The other one wasn't really getting done what I needed to get done. So we're just trying something different. There's something, Clark Brown, I'm assuming that, I like how I just read your full name. I'm assuming, Clark, that you're talking about the top right one here. And there's something kind of fun about that. It's definitely not none of these kind of like are hitting that feeling of what I'm typically looking for when I'm doing a thumbnail, which is like, oh yeah, that's what I had in my head. And I think that there's a lot of possible explanations for that. One, I just haven't figured out how to draw it yet. That's always a possibility. Two, the thing that I think would be really cool in my head is not something that actually fits into a proper perspective 2D plane. That is definitely a possibility as well, and one you can never really ignore. And it also might just be that, it's been a long couple of weeks of work, and I need to take a little break. That might be it too. Not from the streaming. I'll keep doing stuff. But I think there is definitely a finite amount of creative energy that you have on any given day. And it's always a good thing when that creative energy is actually getting used in your work, so I can't complain about it. But I do definitely feel might be a bit exhausted. Such is life. I don't think that all this corona stuff and all the nonsense going on in my government is helping. I feel like that adds an emotional tax to every day. It's emotionally draining to even be thinking about it. And then like with being in quarantine and everything else, you're just kind of constantly, even if it's not like in the forefront of your brain, it's like credit card debt, right? Like it's just kind of this like present thing going on with everybody, and there's really no way to get your head out of it completely. So yeah, I don't know. Strange times we're living in right now, folks. Very strange times. Clark, I've been going back and forth on that. As far as like the scale of the man, and that's one of the tough things where I think that part of my issue is my ability to render as in draw things in perspective is limited, right? Like I don't have a complete control of the medium by any means. But, you know, like, obviously, like, there's an implied size to these steps, which sets the scale, right? And so if we wanted to make the guy smaller, we could go even longer further out. I don't know. I gotta be honest with you guys. I thought this was going to be a pretty easy thumbnailing exercise when I started it yesterday. It has not turned out to be the case. And yes, I do need coffee. I've been drinking for the past like 2 weeks or so. I basically had my lunch at beer with you guys. My way to go, Mike. My beer with lunch with you guys, and then it's been coffee or water. Lots of coffee. Do like coffee. But yeah, I think what's going on in my head is that the part of me that wants to draw this whole building wants to show this whole building so that I have to paint it afterwards. And then the part of me that's trying to work towards a composition that's the composition in my head and that what I want to use it to practice, I think are conflicting a little bit. I think that's what's going on. But I'm not sure. I think there's part of that there. Which just means that then we need to make a decision. Which one do we want to follow for this? I don't know. Luca, why the sudden change in format? What sudden change in what format? Out of curiosity. All right, we could just go. Let's see, Clark. I think if we just paint him smaller. Let's just go ahead and paint him smaller. It'll imply, right, like these aren't obviously like drawn steps. If we just paint him smaller, it'll make the impression of the steps, I think, feel smaller, and let's see what happens. I think we need to go even darker on him. Really make him stand out. Let's see. Oop. Did that make a new layer? No, it did not. No, it did not. Let's use darken. that and go just a little bit lighter so we don't affect that. And then we can just kind of sketch in. There we go. We'll just put more lines in. When in doubt, more lines. When I was in architecture school, we used to have jokes about lines per inch. Because even if you didn't know what you were doing or what your project was about, the more lines you could put into a drawing, generally speaking, the more impressed a jury would be. It's all about presentation, folks. All about presentation. Image aspect. I didn't change the image. I've been doing all these sketches in portrait. I just started working out to the right so that we wouldn't be, looking at just the bottom of the screen the whole time. That was the only thought there. But, I mean, that could be one of the issues, is that I'm not playing around with any other aspect ratios. You never know. It is crazy. Look at this image. Look how quickly your brain adapts. Like, your brain is like assuming a size of steps here, right? Which is probably a little bit smaller than how they're actually drawn. And just like with those couple of little scribbles, your brain immediately recalculates the size of that building. Which is pretty fascinating when you think about it. I don't know, Clark, what do you think? There are things I like about both of them. And there's something that scares me about painting that many steps. Mion, that's good. It's the thumbnail exercise you deserve, but not the exercise you need. You're goddamn right. David, you're like an hour in front of me. I'm glad you enjoy it and enjoy watching the videos after lunch. Very much. Okay, let's see. What should we try? Let's take a moment and consider. Maybe this is just a sketching exercise. Nothing wrong with that. While I'm sitting here thinking, can you guys tell me, right now, is the music loud enough? Too loud? Good. I kind of guess at this little meter every time. And I never really know. And I don't always go back and listen to check. So let me know about that. Just so that I know that you're not sitting in silence when I'm thinking. And David, drinking homemade Peruvian liquor. That sounds amazing. I would love... What is it made from? What is it like? Tell me about it. When I think of Peruvian liquor, nothing comes to mind. Oh, David, I'm glad you like the music too. Yeah, I like this stuff. It gets a little repetitive because I only have like the 45 minutes or so of stuff in this playlist, but I find that I'm listening to more and more of this kind of like ambient lo-fi type of stuff while working. And I was recently listening to an interview. I think it was with Sparth. He's one of my painting heroes. And he was talking about how he recently started listening to no music as like a rule. And he said like he died a little bit because he loves music, but he stopped listening to any music while working. And the reason for that was that he's like, I want all of my brain working on the task at hand. And he's like, I miss listening to music, but I feel like I'm being more productive. I don't know if I could give it up altogether, but I also haven't tried. It's probably worth trying. All in the name of science and productivity, Maybe let's draw one while it's flipped and see what comes of it. Your hand obviously wants to move differently. Maybe something else will come. But let's have an idea of what we want to draw. And I'm glad. So if I ever ask you guys again, this music like peaks out at the -35 level. So that's what I'll always aim for the background music. At least as far as levels go. Streams like this do wish that I could just go and into like my personal library and like put on some of my favorite work tunes and share them for you know, an hour. I do wish that. I feel like that would be fun. But copyright is copyright. I do feel like if I was a musician, no, I mean, I can understand that. It's strange how foreign drawing in this side of 2-point perspective feels. You can feel how stiff does this drawing look. Interesting. Interesting. Grab something harder. David, that sounds cool. Is it like a peach schnapps type of thing? Assuming that schnapps translates in a meaningful way. I don't know if you guys were watching. Just before this stream, Eric DeBroche from Luxagon, the founder of Luxagon, was on the D2 channel talking to Fabio and Jason. I don't know if any of you ever had the pleasure of listening to or talking to Eric. He is a freaking riot, and always enjoyable. It was a really interesting talk. They were wrapping up right as I was moving to get all this stuff set up for today, but it sounded like they were just about done, so I think it's over. But if you guys are looking for some entertainment, talking about some architecture, some ArcViz, wooden spoons, beating children, the whole, you know, they really packed everything into that conversation. Super enjoyable. I recommend you guys checking it out. And tomorrow, guys, is Playground. I meant to put a link in for that. It's called VR Playgrounds. I think I put a link in the chat yesterday. I couldn't do it again. No reason I can't do it again today. VR Playgrounds. There's their Instagram. That'll get it done. I haven't actually even looked at the full lineup. The last one, I basically took the day off and just like sat and listened and enjoyed the whole thing. Tomorrow I have to continue working, but I do plan on having it on in the background all day, and the stream will be at a slightly different time. I think it'll be at like 11:15, so it'll be a little over 2 hours long, and it's just gonna be like a short little 10 to 15 minute paint over of the one image that's still sitting in the queue. So if you guys have any images you want to have painted over next week, feel free to send them in. Mike@droki.com. But otherwise, we're just going to do a quick one just so that, I can look myself in the mirror. We've already given up weekends. Can't go willy-nilly skipping Fridays. But it's just going to be a quick one tomorrow. And then checking out Playgrounds. I'm super excited for it. It was really enjoyable last time. And I do find myself, kind of consuming more like ArcViz related stuff. Historically, like my feeds and whatnot are more ArcViz related mostly. But they're becoming more and more like concept art, visual effects, that kind of stuff, just out of interest. And it's always nice to get that perspective. Change in perspective, always a good thing. David, sweet and strong seems like a good summary for schnapps, as taste markers. I wonder if it's a type of schnapps. But it sounds like it's fancy, and I hope that you're enjoying the hell out of it. David, you most definitely can send me images to make a paint over. Tomorrow I have one. It's the only one I'm going to do tomorrow, but having some lined up is always good, and I just kind of work through them in the order that I get them. And you can just send them to mike@droki.com, or just send me a message anywhere, and I'll just tell you the same thing, but I can type it out. Claudio, my favorite. I don't use Procreate a lot, largely because I'm never in a situation where I can't just step into here and draw on this guy. And I don't like the feel of plastic against screen, even though, was it maybe Clark that recommended a screen guard that kind of, that hard plastic on glass feeling with the Apple Pencil really bothers me. But I was recommended a screen cover that helps that, and I've been told that it helps. Haven't tried it. Need to though. But the perspective grid for drawing is awesome, and I don't know how Photoshop didn't see that and say, okay, we're gonna add that. Hopefully they do though, because it's such a nice tool, especially for quickly roughing things out. And I feel like it can't be that hard to develop. Hopefully Photoshop does add it. I haven't heard them say it, but I don't really follow the development of things. I just kind of wait for stuff to come out. Milan, yeah, I really like Salon Alpine, and I really liked Studio AKA's presentation as well. I had seen a lot of their work without really knowing who Studio AKA was. I'm like, oh yeah, they're the guys that made that, and then they showed a bunch of work that I hadn't ever seen, small projects and client stuff, and I was just like, oh, and their styles all over the place, which I think is really cool and kind of inspiring to see a studio jumping between cartoony to very kind of traditional media feeling to photorealistic. I like seeing studios kind of jump around like that. And there's just some really beautiful stuff. There's that one about was it Samurai, the Wakuza? It was done in a charcoal-y style. It was super cool. Oh, and it was Oleg. Paper-like. I'm gonna Google that now. Paper-like. I was actually thinking about that the other day. Paper-like iPad screen. And now it's sitting in my iPad screen, so I can order it after this. Knitting, I am sure that there are tutorials for people that do much better sketching than I do. I have not really watched any. Oh, it's not live. I don't know if this one is the last Playgrounds Art Festival, Art Department from, a month ago, was actually sponsored in part by Procreate. And so they had a bunch of people talking about it, but I kind of forget who, and I don't know who has tutorials. I'm sure that there are good ones. Wait, seriously? That surprises me. I don't know, but I'll tell you what, Nitin. I'm going to order this paper-like iPad screen as soon as this thing is over. Because if I don't, what's going to happen is I'm going to think of it like a week from now. I'm going to forget the name. So I'm just going to order that. Because I do think to myself that, like, oh, it'd be really nice, like, while sitting, like, watching a movie with my wife or something like that, to be able to, like, sketch there. And really that, like, clicking set. Like, you hear this the whole time you're drawing. It's awful. And if that kind of dulls that down a little bit and it feels better, that would be awesome. And it seems like that's the whole point of that screen protector. I'm really excited about that. So let me play with it. If I find, I will keep it in mind. And if I find any particularly great tutorials, I will let you know. What you see a lot of, what I've seen a lot of, is the because Procreate saves like the history of your drawing, which is like really cool that it's able to do that, like stroke by stroke. Though it does kind of, every stroke it has the same time given to it, so like there's a little bit of a strange thing. But you see a lot of people posting those, and I actually really like watching them because it, even if most people that I've seen don't actually like narrate them, they're just like, yeah, here's a post. You see them on Instagram, you see them on YouTube, but you are able to get a feeling of kind of how they work through a process, a drawing, as far as you get an idea of how they're thinking based off what they're drawing, which is really cool. One of the guys that I've been watching a decent amount recently is Martin Deschambault, which you guys are probably familiar with at least some of his work. He's done a lot of stuff for Assassin's Creed, which I really like. He did the Project 77 project, which I really want them to reprint because I don't have that book, and I want it. But he does some beautiful stuff, and a bunch of his videos are Procreate sketches. And it's just, like 3 to 5 minutes of him drawing, and it's pretty cool. Oleg, James Julier painting is a pretty good artist that draws on Procreate. You can learn a lot by watching him. Nothing really fancy, but it's still something. I will Google him as well. Oleg, I appreciate the name seems vaguely familiar. I don't know if I've watched any of it. But it also seems like tutorials, which is good, especially because I know kind of how to use Procreate, but not really. Not really. There are definitely, in the little that I've played with it, there are definitely a bunch of times where I'm like, how can I just do this simple whatever it is that would take me 2 seconds in Photoshop? And then I kind of get stuck and lost and don't progress from there. So yeah, maybe I should go back to trying more of that. And Nitin, I will keep you guys posted if I find any really cool tutorials that I found particularly insightful or helpful. Or inspiring. Okay. I don't know which one of these I like the best, which is never a good sign, right? I do find in my, well, it's not a terrible sign, but it's a signifier of something. I do find that whenever I'm working on something and I have like let's say I'm in 3D and I have two camera angles, or I'm going back and forth between like two different like lighting or color setups, and I'm kind of like, I kind of like this and I kind of like that. I do usually find that is suggesting that I haven't found the right answer yet, right? I try to kind of stay like aware of that whenever I'm working in general. Is that if you're like really stuck between like option A or option B, I find usually it's not because they're equal. Usually it's because there's something cool in one, there's something cool in the other, and the best solution isn't just like picking one of those two or finding halfway in between those two. The best thing is to figure out a way to get what's cool in one also in the other, which actually just gave me a thought. Which, since we got a little bit of time here, is what we're gonna do. Oh, and their product's getting better, it looks like, from you guys talking in the chat over there. That's cool. I do. The only reason I own an iPad is I find if I have a client presentation and I'm doing it at their office, the color on the monitor is never any good. I was gonna say, it's hit and miss. It's basically all miss, in my experience. And there's nothing worse than like spending a bunch of time trying to make an image perfect and as good as you possibly can, and then going in to show it to your client, and you look at it and the contrast is too contrasty, too saturated. There's a red cast over top of the whole thing. And so I usually bring the iPad with me to client meetings, and I also use it for like color checking, because like the biggest percentage of single group users would be Mac users, right? Because Android and PCs are all over the place as far as brands go. Apple products have very consistent color kind of across all of their devices, and it's like a little bit warmer than neutral. But so that's kind of like my target color correction output, I guess you could say. And I like knowing that if I go into a meeting and the monitors that they have to look at the work look like shit, I can still say, yeah, it's only 13 inches, but this is what it's supposed to look like. So I guess I could just buy a bunch of screens and take them off for it. Or, I mean, as is the case right now, there's not going to be any in-person client meetings probably for a while over here. But it sounds like it's not even an issue, because it sounds like they fixed it, which is awesome. This is where those perspective grids would be really nice. I mean, those steps are like ridiculously steep, but that might be the winner already. Or something close to it. I think maybe I just needed to go super vertical on it. Maybe they like. I mean, that's like that's beyond 45 degrees, but that could be. I definitely like this one the best, which makes me happy. We could figure out like how to fix the steepness in post. Not in post. At this point. I've been doing so much drawing on this channel, in these streams, that I've now started to think of 3D as post. Yeah, that's funny. I had a client. No, is that a client? No. When I was at D-Box, I worked on. I was working on Richard Meier's surf club in Miami, and I got to work on an image that was like super vertical. It was like 4 or 5 to 1 vertical. It was a lot of fun, and the last time that might be, I mean, that would have been like 2012 or 2013. No, 2011 or 2012. Terrible with time. That might have been the last time I did something that was like uber vertical. I don't think I've done anything for clients in the recent history like this. I don't think so. Not that I can think of, anyways. David, that's really interesting. I've never actually looked into doing that. I frequently, is this a darken layer still? Yes, it is. Merge down. I do frequently, like especially when I'm getting ready to like submit images to a client, I will frequently go and just like quickly send them to myself or throw them onto Google Drive or whatever, and then just grab my iPad and look at them. I've never actually thought of like getting a stand hooked up for it, which is like you see them all the time with like app developers, right? When they're connecting phones and all the different things. I never really thought of just having it up because like that's kind of like always my quick check before I send anything to a client is, does it look good on an iPad or iPhone? And I don't have an iPhone, don't want an iPhone, so I just check it on my iPad. But it might be worth looking into some of those options. And Oleg, this is most definitely not OSHA approved. They would be very OSHA, ADA. Nobody would be happy about this. But I do like it. Gives us some building stuff that we're going to need to paint. It's not only stairs, even though it's mostly stairs. That'll be a challenge, I think. I kind of like that it's freakishly steep. Kind of down with that. But I like that we just have little dude all by himself down there at the bottom, and then this massive staircase to this massive God knows what building. I'm going to call today a success. I like that. We're going to make that image. Or some variation close to it. Oh, Nitin, thank you very much. I appreciate it. That's awesome. I'm very happy with that. That we actually ended up somewhere. I can't think off the top of my head who brought up the idea, asking about aspect ratio, but I hadn't really thought about changing it, and I'm very glad that I did. That'll be fun. And now we're just going to figure out how we're going to do it, which I do not know. But this, we will say this. This is kind of like where I like to leave projects, right? Like, I know the exact thing that I would start doing. I would be roughing out like a very steep staircase, right? And we can kind of like approximate, put in a scale figure. We can figure out roughly how tall it needs to be. I know exactly what the next thing is that I should do in the process of getting this into a final image. And so it's a great place to stop, because it means that when I, get into 3D to rough this out, I don't need to think about the first couple of things to kind of get back into the flow of things. So I always try and stop when that's the case. Oops. The little. I'm still getting used to the scrubby zoom. All right, guys. Folks, thanks so much for hanging out. It has been an absolute pleasure. I hope that you guys are doing. Oh, in the universe of Blame, dude. Oh, I love Blame. Such a big fan of it. And I think we're gonna go like. Should we go? In my head, like I told you guys, like in my head, was always something that was kind of like a riff on the idea of the Art Institute of Chicago, which is like neoclassical architecture, just out of scale. But there's nothing to say that we couldn't change this to something completely different, right? Like this being neoclassical. Speak, Michael. Neoclassical versus sci-fi, or versus. Really whatever we want. Ruins. Could be anything. The composition wouldn't change. I'll have a think on that. Yeah, thank you guys so much. Yeah, and absolutely, David. Blame is amazing. He's absolutely amazing. And I'll give you a little sampling, because I don't think I actually showed this in Art Books I Love. If I didn't, I should have. The original prints are these little ones, and they're really hard to find and really expensive. They recently they released all these master editions, and the translation's not as good. I'm guessing, was it Image that did this? Vertical. I'm guessing that they paid for the rights to like the art and everything, but whoever did the initial translation into English, they didn't pay for that, and so they retranslated it and they changed some words, and it's not as good. But honestly, a lot of this book doesn't have any words in it, which I think is amazing. Like here's the first random page that I opened to, and it's effing gorgeous. Oh wait, yeah, I only messed that up for a moment. I mean, this is how the whole thing's drawn. Oop, let's get some light on it. Let's get some of the architectural stuff. Oh, it's so cool. And I'm pretty sure that I read somewhere that he kind of had a rough idea for the story when he started writing it, but he definitely didn't have it like worked out. That he would just kind of like make up the story as he was drawing it, which is just like, holy hell. There's a couple. I know there's a scene in this book. I don't know if I'll be able to find it. Super strong composition. I don't know. You can kind of see this. Yeah, these are pretty cheap too. I think that these only cost like $15 to $20. These big master editions. It's the coolest, guys. Do yourselves a favor. It's awesome. I don't think the story's as good as Akira, but I like the art better. And I will send you guys an Amazon Blame Master Edition. Let's go. Blame Master Edition 1. Give it to me. Oh wait, this is hardcover. German. That's not what I'm looking for. There we go. Oh, will it let me post that? Nope. Let me how. Do. We'll get it. We're gonna get it here. Here we go. It's a super cool story. That will get you to it. Oh, David Stocco. I have not heard of Naissance. I'm copying it to search it now because anything that was inspired by that is probably something I'm going to like. So I'll check that out. But okay, guys, that is it for today. Thank you guys for hanging out. As always, I do appreciate it. I hope you enjoyed it. I'm in a better mood than when I started this thing. It's always exciting for something to come out when you weren't really sure if it was going to. And so now we have an idea of what we're going to do next. Tomorrow I'll post the time at some point on Facebook or Instagram or something of the like. But it'll probably be like 15-20 minutes before they get started at the art department, because that's going to be cool. But guys, we will talk to you soon. Thank you. Have a great rest of your day. Be kind to one another. Stay safe. And make some cool stuff. We'll talk to you soon. Later, guys. Oh, God. This is a super awkward one. I don't even have any... Oh, I have a sip of beer left. We're going to say cheers. Awkward time completed, just about. Boop. Boop.